Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Live Charting, the show where you pick the tickers and we chart them out for you. My name is Jason Krutsky. I'm going to be your host this evening, and we're very, very fortunate tonight. We are joined by an absolute legend. We've got Jack from Alpha Charts 365. Jack, my friend, great to have you on. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Jason. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing better now, man. I'm really excited to jump into these charts with you. Before we get into the names that the awesome viewers are requesting, maybe we can take, first of all, a few minutes for you to tell us a bit about yourself. You know, how did you get into the markets, a bit about your background, and maybe a bit about your trading style?
Sure. So, I've been in the markets for probably, 8 or 9 years now. Started out slow, trying all kinds of different things, looking at fundamental analysis first and figuring out that it really doesn't work, at least not for me. So I finally found my way to technical analysis and really just over time learning and following, really smart people, most of them on FinTwit, and just learning from them and building relationships and just getting better. It's one of those things where you can only really learn it by doing it, right? By having your money at risk. So that's kind of what I do. And I work full time. I don't trade full time, so I which is actually in some ways an advantage because I do a lot of my research, a lot of my work when the market's closed. And so you kind of take away some of that emotion and some of that
FOMO.
Yeah, FOMO type of stuff during that time. So so that's kind of my story.
Got it. Awesome. Well, so before we get into the individual requests, can we take a few minutes and kind of talk through where we're at just across the major indices? How are you feeling about today's action? And where do you think we might be headed here in the coming weeks and months?
Sure, absolutely. So, today's action was kind of expected. We had, obviously this horrible downtrend, and we started making higher highs and higher lows back towards the end of June, right? Mid to end of June, we started this kind of new uptrend, and it's been very constructive, right? We have price that has steadily risen. We now have bullishly aligned moving averages in the short and intermediate term. These are all EMAs, by the way. The red is the 200. If you're using an SMA, it's actually still up here. There's a slight difference in the two of them, but they're very, very similar. You have the VWAP from the beginning of the year, and price was running right into that. And you were just extended from these moving averages. So a little pullback today on lower volume wasn't all that worrisome for me right now. Now we start to break back below this green line that I put in here. That's significant, I think, because it was, support over here. It was resistance over here. It was resistance a little bit right over here. And then we broke through it. If we fall back below it, that's a false breakout in my book. And I think that we could be heading lower at that point, but right now we're above it and everything is bullishly aligned in the short intermediate term. Doesn't mean we're out of the bear market yet, but for now it's I think it's very positive. Still, I'm not willing to flip my book, yet, unless we start to see price take out this green line.
Got it. So that's really the line in the sand for you is that kind of previous distribution area from, I guess that's kind of the end of May, early June. And then of course, what is looking now a little bit more like accumulation just recently, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you see these nice green bars right up here. And then on the pullbacks, what do we see? We see lower volume all the way. So to me, that's a very bullish look on the volume. So again, I'm willing to give this the benefit of the doubt until price proves me wrong.
Yeah, right on. What do you have? It's kind of a big question, but do you have a particular level or a particular thing that you would need to see that would really kind of trigger you to feeling like, yeah, we have turned the corner here. The lows pretty likely are in. Where is your head at on all of that sort of stuff?
New highs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, that's it. New highs. That. Yeah. That's, because let's be honest, on a longer term time frame, if we stop going up here or even here
Still
someplace,
lower
you know,
high.
it's a lower high. Exactly. So yeah, I want to see new highs.
Got it. Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get into the voting. Before we do that, first things first, we have a 40% discount available for you guys tonight. It is only available during the show. So if you missed the crazy deal we had just a weekend or two ago, now's your chance to get on the platform with a 40% discount and a 14-day free trial. So you really got nothing to lose. If you are sitting on the sidelines thinking about being a TrendSpider customer, now is the time. The second thing, let's talk through how the voting works. If you've been on the show before, if you've watched the show before, you know how it works. If you haven't, we're going to vote. You're going to get to vote for 3 symbols per round. One round is 1 ticker. So we're going to get through, as many tickers as we can tonight. If we don't pick one of your 3 early on, just keep on voting for them. You can vote for the same 3 tickers as many times as you want, but you do have to vote for 3 unique tickers per round. So that's it. That's all the rules you guys need to know, and take advantage of that 40% discount if you're interested in it. We've got the code in the chat here. So Jack, you ready to rock? Let's do this.
Ready? Let's do this.
Cool. So first ticker is NVDA.
NVIDIA. Okay. So SMH recently has been pretty strong, actually. So this chart's not marked up, which is good. So, I'm going to just right there. This is the area that I'm looking at, and you can actually even, see like almost like an inverse head and shoulders that's trying to be formed right here, which is actually not my perfect line, but we'll do it like that. Fine. Yeah, so I like this inverse head and shoulders bottom formation, really nice. Let's just zoom in just a little bit more here. And doing nothing wrong at all. You see as it's pulling back, decreasing volume. I like that. It may need some more time to build it out, and you have earnings here, right? So this may be the catalyst of when of potentially a breakout, but that would be a way to go long. And I would then use this green area as my line in the sand again. And earnings is what, the 24th, it looks like. So it's coming up. I wouldn't, if I'm not in it yet, it's probably gonna be too close to earnings for me to get involved. Okay, my time frame real fast. I'm a swing trader. I'm looking for days, more likely weeks, but days to weeks. And if it's a really strong name, I could go even months potentially in a name. So that's the way I'm looking at this. So yeah, inverse head and shoulders here, building out, not confirmed. Earnings coming up. So if it could blast through this with volume on earnings, that'd be interesting.
Gotcha. And talk to us real quickly about the EMAs that you have. I know you mentioned the 200. What other lengths are you using?
Yeah, so red is going to be 200. 50 is going to be the 50. I'm sorry, the blue is the 50. Sorry. Blue is the 50. The orange is the 23. The 9 is going to be the green, and a 5 days the yellow.
What's the story on the 23? That's kind of a odd one.
Yeah, so it's roughly a month of trading. Okay. A lot of people use 21, but I think 23 closer lines to a month of trading. So I like the 23. Also, I tend to use a 23, rising 23 as a level of stop. So a lot of stops get hit around the 20 or 21 day. So it gives me just a little extra room to maybe have a position hang on there.
Gotcha. What I know you're personally looking for a gain of that green area. What would you say to somebody who is holding through kind of some of this pain from I guess they announced maybe that they were going to guide some soft earnings or something like that, kind of similar to like what Apple did a week and a half before their earnings. What would you say to somebody where they need to really, really maybe consider rethinking their long position? What would get you really bearish on this?
I mean, really bearish on this?
Yeah.
I mean, if it starts making lower lows, right? If we take out this low right here,
yep,
that's going to get me much more bearish. I don't want to see this shoulder. If this even builds out, I don't want to see this shoulder get real deep. I want to see that the buyers are stepping in, and I want to see higher low, higher low. And as this builds out, higher lows and almost like a VCP style type of thing moving through as we come into earnings. That tells me that each dip is being bought sooner and sooner. And this is more likely going to break out in my favor.
Got
So
it.
taking out this low would be a problem.
Okay, cool. Let's keep moving. Next round is Tesla.
All right, let's just zoom out just a little bit. All right, so Tesla. That out. It's messy. I mean, that's the first thing I'm gonna tell you. This is a messy chart. It's going to be, yeah. I mean, look at all this chop in here and slop, and it's a hard chart to trade, I think, right now. But zooming in, you have kind of a cup pattern here, kind of like this, and maybe it's building out a handle right here. So if I was going to trade this, and it's actually not that bad right here, I can say, okay, it's a cup, and then here's my handle. And sorry. There's my handle, and so I can play it one of two ways. I can say it's going to break this trend line right here, right? Break the trend line. It's kind of like an early entry, right? And then I would play it against a moving average. There's your 50-day right there. So that's a common one that I would probably play it against. It's close enough for my risk appetite. Looking at it, but yeah. So it's kind of has a nice, neat little pattern here. Actually, as I look closer on here, again, break this trend line. I could enter it long, and if I want to wait for a more traditional entry, I could look at this pivot up here, or enter it long, small size right here if it goes higher, and then add to it as it breaks higher here too, and it'll help keep my cost basis lower. So those are two options for this particular chart. Again, I would say this blue line, which is the 50-day EMA, would be my absolute stop on that.
Got it. And what do you specifically look for? I know you said that you're maybe a little bit more of a swing trader. What do you look for to confirm that price that you want to get into or out of a trade? Do you look for price closing on an absolute basis? Do you look for end of the day, a certain time frame? Like what does price have to do at that 50-day to get you out of the trade, I guess? Or what does price have to do at that trend line or at that green level?
Right. And actually, and just looking back at this trade, I probably wouldn't even let it go to the 50-day. I would probably would take it out right over here at the red line,
Keep
really thinking about it. I would keep that tight, a little bit tighter, that stop. But what it has to do, it has to close below it, significantly on some volume. Again, and I don't actually like this volume in the handle. I don't think this is a perfect setup. This should be low volume in the handle, and it's high volume in my opinion. Yeah. So I don't love it, but again, doesn't mean it's going to fail or anything. Just is what it is. But yeah, I'm looking for close below. Sometimes I'll actually, if I really like the name and it's really setting up, I'll wait for two closes below, because it could just be a shakeout. And I've been there before, and it sucks, right? To get shaken out of a name that you love, and then the next day it just rips higher on you, and you're just like, are you kidding me? So sometimes I'll give it, if I really love the name and have conviction in it, I'll give it 2 days below whatever key moving average I'm looking to trade against.
Got it. Okay, cool. Let's keep moving. Next round is BTU.
All right.
That's some energy names.
Peabody. Yep. They're starting to get a little bit more.
They're trying to show some strength.
They're trying to. Let's see if this is. Yeah, you could kind of see it's a little bit of a downtrend here. Let's just see if we can make that a little bit neater. Yeah. So it's not a bad looking chart. I actually like it. If it breaks the downtrend line right here, again, a downtrend line doesn't have to, in my opinion, for the way I chart, it doesn't have to hit every single peak perfectly. This is the essence of the trend right here. And so I think a break above it, and I'm fine with that. If I want to, I could probably even just maybe move it right there, whatever. And I like how these moving averages are starting to bunch up, and whether you want to call this a launch pad or power of, some people call it power of 3 or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's kind of nice, because it's a really defined area that I can trade against, right? If, in a day or two, if this kind of moves sideways or chops around a little bit, and these are all kind of in the same spot, this, 2450-ish area, plus or minus, I can then trade against that. And if it falls below that, I'm out, I'm done. So I like that. I think there is some strength that I've seen recently through my scanning in energy names. So yeah, it's one to consider. Again, would I enter it here? I probably wouldn't. It just moved from from 1840 to 22, right? That's it's 20% plus move right over here.
Mhm.
So I'm not really looking to, actually we could just measure it out real fast. 20, almost 22.5% move. So, I'm not really looking to enter it here. Now, if it kind of pulls back into the moving averages and it shows me a little bit of support, again, I could use those to trade against.
The other thing too is it has not made a new high. It keeps making lower highs. It has
That's a
made a
good
higher
point.
low. It has made a higher low.
Yes.
Okay, you had a little gap up. It pulled back into the gap. It held. So that's definitely something to be mindful of and something to add to your bullish thesis. But really, right? Yeah, I mean, you would want to see a new high, right?
Right. You got to see new high. You got to see. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I just think it probably ran too high. So I wouldn't enter it today, but it's one I'd keep on a watch list and watch for that pullback and make that higher low and then the breakouts.
And then the question is like, I think a lot of traders struggle with this. I struggle with this. Breakout buying. Breakout buying has not really been working very much lately. It has worked in energy names. It works when there's like a nice solid bullish trend, but otherwise it's very tough. If you get a new high, do you buy that instantly or do you let it kind of run and come back to where it broke out from? What is your style there?
Yeah. So, I mean, ideally, this would come back in, then it would break out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the perfect scenario, it comes back in and retests, and that's where
Yeah.
you buy right over here, and then it continues higher.
Right.
So that would be actually the perfect spot. And actually, as probabilities go, that's your highest probability spot to buy right there. And your risk reward is beautiful at that point.
Right. Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, thank you very much for that. Let's keep moving. Oxy. This one's looking really good. I was just looking at this the other day. My parents called me. They told me what stocks they own, and Oxy was one of them. And they were asking me how it looks. I was like, I mean, it's making a new high. It looks like it's about to go try for all-time highs.
Yeah. Yeah. Uncle Warren likes this one too. So that's always good news, right?
Right.
All right. So yeah, you have this kind of on a very short look, you have this kind of this area right here where it's found resistance a few times. Again, a lot of these energy names have this bunching up of moving averages they've kind of moved sideways for a few months now, and that's why you're getting this, which is great. I mean, I love to trade against them, so I really do like that. Nice big moves, love it. It is extended though, right? I mean, we're going from 56 to 65. That's a pretty good move, and literally no give back.
Right.
So yeah, so if it broke out, I would not buy the breakout.
Okay.
I would let it come back, retest, and look for there. And some of these names, you have to be okay with letting them go, right? Like I love you love a name, but you don't fall in love with the name, right? If it goes without you, there's plenty of names that have gone without me and you hate it. You want to be involved. Celsius was one. It went without me. And now I'm watching for a new entry on that particular one. But sometimes they go without you, and that's okay, right? We can do that. There's a lot of names out there.
In the instance that you're watching a particular name, let's say it's Oxy, and it does get away from you, is that going to immediately get your gears turning like, well, Oxy got away from me. What's Exxon doing? What's Chevron doing? What are other energy names in the space doing? Are they lagging? If they're lagging, maybe I can pick up some momentum off of Oxy in one of the names that hasn't quite caught the bid yet. Is that where your head goes ever? Or is it like if you're stuck on one name, you're with that name?
It does. So today I looked at a lot of energy charts actually, because I noticed AR was looking really good. And so I started going down and I ran a scan and I looked specifically at energy names with my criteria in there, things in uptrends, right? Things that are strong. And I came up with 5, 6, 7 names that had very similar charts actually to AR, but some of them weren't quite as far up. So they were still really bullish looking charts, but maybe, the FinTwit and the institutions and everyone that wants to, that's buying right now, maybe they just haven't caught on to maybe the rotation that could be happening in energy right now. So I have a list of, again, 5 or 6 names in the energy space. And so so if one of them, with let's say Oxy, gets away from me, I will look at its cousins and brothers and sisters to
Right.
find out if what else. Again, it's got to be I don't want to buy a laggard. I want to buy something that just hasn't been something that has a very similar looking chart, but maybe is closer to a place I can manage risk against.
Got it. Got it. And again, for managing risk, you're using those moving averages, right?
I do most of the time. I could use a level too. Like I would potentially use this level if it was to break out, come back. I would then use the green area. So
Yeah.
again, it'll be fluid. And then if it starts moving higher, I'll switch to a moving average, right? If it gets to, as it starts to advance, then I'm going to ride the 23-day all the way up, hopefully.
Got it. So the 23 is your big one that you're using to kind of decide when to get in or get out.
Yeah, for the most part. Now, it works. 23 works way better in bullish markets, right? In bearish markets, again, I may take the 9-day moving average instead because I'm going to take quicker hits as I go through it. So I'll switch that on. You got to be flexible, right? We don't get to choose what the market, does. The market tells us, and we have to be flexible to that.
Right. For sure. Right on, man. Well, let's keep moving here. Costco is next.
All right. Costco wholesale. All right. So great company. I shop there. But I don't love this chart. So you see this, I mean, it's flagging here. So I can say if it breaks this flag, then then maybe I could get more bullish on it. But I don't like how the moving averages are starting to turn down over here. The 23 is starting to flatten out just a little bit. It's rising, so but it's maybe starting to flatten out a little bit. We're seeing some more selling pressure on the volume. In a flag again, I want to see low volume pullbacks. This is maybe a little bit on the higher volume that I like to see. So it's not terrible, but it's not great either. It's got this uptrend. So I would say if it breaks this trend line right here, and continues, lower, there's your 23 right there. I think there's more bullish charts out there.
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. It's coming into pretty important little spot, a pivot from the move down too, huh?
Yeah.
Kind of where it's getting caught up.
Absolutely. And and again, it's just, to me, this looks more like a topping pattern. If it can't make a new high here, then a up, the uptrend, doesn't look like a base to me. This looks more toppy. So that I take that into account too.
Got it. Do you just see, you look at it, you say, it looks toppy, I'm not interested in it?
I just pass. There's too many good charts and uptrends. Why am I going to mess around with this?
Okay.
So I just pass on it. Doesn't interest me at all.
So then I take it you are pretty much just a long side trader.
Yeah, I do. If I do, yeah, I mean, every so often I'll buy some SQQQ, whatever, the inverse ETF, triple leverage for a very short-term trade. If I feel like, I did during the recent bear market that we're in, a few times, again, for a short term, but that's it. I'm not shorting individual stocks.
Got it. Okay, cool. Good to know. Let's keep moving. QQQ.
All right. So here's my QQQ chart. Yeah, so the blue line is the VWAP from the beginning of the year. You see that's where price gave back. I like that it was lower volume, it looks like today. So that's a positive. If it can pull back and then make another higher low here, higher low, higher low, higher low. If it pulls back and makes a higher low here, it's not a dead chart to me, but we are above the green area. So I wouldn't want to pull back much more than where my green line is. And that goes back to, all the way to 2021. It was important as support here, support here, resistance, right there, boom. So I want to see this hold as support again. And if it loses this, again, it has that bottom look to it, kind of like how NVDA kind of had a bottom look to it, actually a little bit nicer. Again, it's trying to break out here. and it has this trend line, right? So those are my areas on, you have your VWAP there, you have this trend line, it got extended, which is fine. Let it pull back and then break out. If it does this, I'm very bullish, super bullish, right? Then it's making the right side of a just much larger structure. And I think we could get back to, some of these bigger levels.
Right. Got it. Cool. Yeah, kind of similar to SPY, just maybe a little bit more progressed.
Yeah,
Just
which is actually nice to see, right?
Yeah.
Because QQQ being a tech heavy, it's kind of nice to see that they are progressing even faster than SPY. So I think that's again another bullish. Again, is it a counter trend rally within a larger bear market? We'll only know after the fact.
Right. Right on. All right, keep on moving here. AMD next.
AMD. Let's see what we got here. Okay. All right. So don't like that it couldn't make a higher high here right off the bat. And that just really stuck out at me right when I looked at the chart. It's not a deal breaker, but it's still in a downtrend. There's no other way to really say that. Still in a downtrend. If, this general area somewhere in here, again, you could even make it bigger if we wanted to. Because remember, it's an area. It's not a specific line or anything like that. But this general area, it's got to, here's your potential for the inverse head and shoulders. It's going to have to come around and break this green area for me to be interested in this name at all. Right now, it made a lower high. Not interested in it. It's gotta finish the structure. And listen, this could take weeks or months to finish out, right? Don't think like it's going to finish out like in 2 weeks. It could take to the next earnings, right? To really start to finish the structure. So that's October. So you know what I'm saying? So don't be in a rush, right? You love AMD, but don't fall in love with it, right? It'll be there for you in a few months. It's a great company. Just I don't think it's yet.
Yeah. And man, patience. That is like the number one thing. It's like such a difficult thing to develop in this game, but patience, it makes all the difference in the world. Letting the setup come to you versus trying to force the setup and assuming that the setup's going to happen.
Yeah, that's so hard. What I found really hard too is getting stopped out and then it sets up again and getting back in like the next day or the same day. That took me a long time to learn. But once I learned it, it was awesome, right? Because you separate the trade. That was a different trade. This is a new trade, right? They're not related, right? And nothing personal, right? It stopped me out. No big deal.
Get back on the horse. It's the only way.
Yeah,
it's the only way. All right, so we are about at the halfway point. Since we're at the halfway point, I'm going to welcome anybody who has arrived post our introduction. Thank you so much for being here. We're here with Jack from Alpha Charts 365. He's a prince for joining us this evening and giving us some chart wisdom. If you are not a TrendSpider user, we have a 40% discount. It's only going to be available for the next 30 minutes. So take advantage of that. If you're not a TrendSpider user, become one today. 40% off, 14-day free trial. You got nothing to lose. Give the platform a shot. And let's get back into the charting. Jack, we're going to go to Apple here.
I'm not typing right tonight.
AAPL.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I drew a blank on that, man. That's crazy.
Biggest
company, one of the biggest companies in the world.
Holy smokes. Happens. It's like forgetting your dog's name. It's just sometimes it happens.
Or your children, right?
Yeah. My dogs are my children. So.
All right, here we go. So Apple.
Unreal.
Yeah. It looks great, right? It's in a nice big uptrend. Again, so the question I would have for this particular name is where do you manage risk against, right?
Yeah.
So, you have potential overhead supply coming up, not too, far ahead. So if you were in it from down here, great, congratulations, great trade.
Right.
But I just can't manage risk anywhere. Maybe, if you got in it off this little flag break right there, awesome. And notice how the volume kind of dried up in there. That's beautiful, right? But I just can't manage risk, and I'm too close to overhead supply unless I want to trade this really short term. So again, it looks great. I think it's good for the market that it's doing well, and I would love to see this all-time highs. I mean, we all own it if we have any kind of retirement product, or every one of them has Apple basically. So
Right.
good luck to all of us.
Yep. So do you think, I mean, I get a lot of questions about Apple. People talk about Apple all the time, right? It's one of the strongest names in the market. How is Apple at all-time highs, or how is Apple so close to all-time highs and the Qs are still so far away from them? Do you have a good explanation for that?
Not really. I mean, it was, I mean, the destruction in the markets, when you look at what really went on, yes, Apple has been doing well, but listen, even back until the middle of June, Apple had a drawdown of 27-28%, right? So yeah, I mean, even Apple actually took a hit. Now, as it started to recover and the Q started to recover, that's where we're seeing, Apple help the Qs out. But we had a big drawdown. It was there. And again, it's not crazy steep, but this is a little bit steep even for recovery. So again, it's nice if you're in it, great. But I would need a better place to manage risk against for this particular one.
What would you say would be your warning shot if there's any viewers who are in from kind of those relative lows? Where should they be thinking about maybe selling their positions, or maybe starting to consider scaling out or whatever, if this is a trade for them?
Right. And it all depends on your time frame and everything else too. But depending on how much profit, I mean, so this is an area that I would see absolutely has to hold right over here. This, we'll call it 150, right? 150-ish has to hold no matter what, right?
Yep.
If 150 doesn't hold, all bets are off. And a short-term time frame, I would use the rising 23-day. This way it gives you some room. But if it starts to break that rising 23-day EMA, if you use a 20-day, use a 20-day, use 21-day, whatever you use.
Right.
If it breaks that particular moving average, I think that's a sign that says, hey, something's wrong.
Got it. Okay, cool. And so we're kind of looking maybe for a move up into that overhead supply. I mean, do you anticipate maybe it gets up into that overhead supply before we see it cool off? What do you think?
I wouldn't see why not.
Right.
I mean, now it could stop just short of that. If it does and doesn't quite make it there, that could be the bearish scenario, right? Because then we have a problem, right?
You have lower highs, right?
Lower highs, exactly. So that would be interesting. But again, the trend's higher right now. So my expectation would be, yes, it gets there.
Yeah, same. Okay, cool. Next one is COCO, the Vita Coco Company, COCO. I did not know that this was a publicly traded company. I had no idea.
Looks like a new IPO, November-ish, October.
Interesting.
Maybe. All right, Vita Coco. Never, ever had their product, but I know a lot of people do.
Oh, it's so good, man.
Yeah.
It's refreshing and it's good for you.
That's what they tell me.
Bing. Like, we need a Vita Coco ad to pop up.
Right. This looks pretty good, actually. I like it because you have the higher lows here, right? And you have kind of like a VCP type action, right? So again, higher low, higher low.
What is VCP? You mentioned that earlier. Meant to ask you.
So it's volatility contraction pattern.
Got it.
It's a Mark Minervini term. And so basically, you have this defined area, and every dip is basically a higher low that you're seeing. You're also having favorable volume, especially on this side of the pattern, right? Very favorable volume. It looks like it just had earnings, so that's out of the way. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, so you can, play it against, again, the moving average, this $12 area. I'd probably play it on the breakout, just to make sure. It could pull back one more time, but it's pretty darn close. But yeah, I mean, it looks good. Again, I'd play it on the breakout. So if it gets above, I'll call it $13, or even this high, right? Whatever the high is right there, 1308. If it gets above 1308, I think that you could be long that. Again, nice volume on this side of the pattern. I really do like that.
Got it. And what's the importance of the volume on that side of the pattern being bigger, being more than on the left side?
Yeah, this part of the pattern, it's a sloppy mess, right? The price action I'm talking about. And the volume, if you see it, these big red bars, these are sellers, right? People are selling this name over here. As we progress through the pattern, we're seeing the transition from sellers, which kind of stops right around here, right? That was the earnings. And now we're starting to see the transition into buyers. And when you see sticks like this is not me buying, right? This is probably institutional buying. And so now we're seeing these big sticks of an institutional person creating a position in this name. And they can't buy like you and I buy, right? We're little speedboats and they're the big gigantic tanker ships, right? So they have to buy over time, and it could be weeks, it could be months. And so this is what I'm looking for institutional accumulation in the market. And with this type of pattern overhead, that's pretty nice.
Got it. Maybe this is your secondary trade to the CELH that you didn't get to jump on, kind of in the same basket, right?
Yeah. Beverages. They just need to add some caffeine to their products.
I wonder if they do. I bet that they have something that has caffeine in it. I don't know that for sure, but I bet they do. The drink is really good. I'm a runner, so I drink coconut water all the time. Anyway, let's keep on moving. Goldman Sachs, GS.
Goldman, look at that.
Monster.
Move in. Yeah. Evil empire. All right. Yeah, looks good. I like that it's above all the moving averages, but it's extended, right? It's extended. And so, okay, no big deal. Now you have to say, well, where would I want to be involved in this? And obviously, you know what, this candle right here, I could see how this may move sideways for a little bit. It does have a dividend coming up. Maybe it affects it, maybe it doesn't. But either a flag type pattern that I would look for here, and then a break of the flag would get me involved, or some just sideways movement to let the moving averages catch up, across the 200-day. And that would also, again, sideways and slight pullback into the 200-day, maybe around, 333-ish or so. And then I can manage risk against there. But I always need a place to manage risk against. If I can't find one, I just can't take that trade.
Yeah. When you're looking at a name like this, like a bank name or something, how often do you find yourself going to something like XLF? How often do you find yourself going to the ETF that's tracking all of them to kind of see where it's at in relation to what? Because Goldman is very strong in comparison to some of the other banks, right? Like JP Morgan it doesn't look the same. It's had that same breakout the past 2 days. Bank of America had the same breakout the past 2 days, but they both have much longer, like flat top consolidation things. Do you go to the ETF and kind of see what's up there before you would consider taking a trade on an individual name, or does it not matter?
Yeah, I do. If I notice that a lot of names kind of are breaking out and I can't find a real position in them, I would choose actually to go with the ETF over an individual name. And I've done that before. I was looking at XOP today, as a possibility too, to just see what it looks like as well. But yeah, I think the ETF, the one nice thing about ETF is I don't worry about earnings. I don't worry about, dividends. I don't worry about any of that stuff because it's a basket of stocks,
Right.
And so, yeah, I do like that. And I will go there, if I can't find a good setup. Like Goldman right here, this was the setup, right in here. That was the setup. That was the time to buy. I missed it. That's fine. No big deal. We'll see it. If it interests me in the future, we'll go for it.
Got it. Cool. All right. Next one is ULCC.
Yeah, I was listening to this one today. Frontier.
Cool.
It's a airline. I guess Frontier Airlines. This flag. You see, I was working on it today. Notice how it had a beautiful up. It's creating a nice little flag here. There's your decreasing volume, so it looks great, right? A break of the flag. And I think that's where you get long this particular name. I don't usually trade airlines, but again, this pattern is a pattern I trade. So I don't care so much what it is as long as it's acting right. And to me, this is acting right. No guarantees, obviously. It still has to break out. But I do like that. And it may take a little bit longer to flag. I stopped my flag there, but it could, take another week or two
Yeah.
to truly flag out. That was a big move, 23% in a day. Huge, right? I love it
Huge.
though. That tells
Well,
me
the fact that they haven't even brought it back at all, it's just holding,
yeah,
you
sucks,
know,
right?
let you
Yeah,
know that it's strong.
I want this 23 day to get a little bit closer though. I'm hoping it takes another week or two to flag out. I want to see this 23 day get closer. I want to see the 50 and 200 day cross again, just to get that bullish alignment and give me a place to manage risk against. The reason why it hasn't broken out, obviously, but also it's just it needs to work through now, to move sideways and to flag out on this decreasing volume. Again, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then it may be ready for me. So I'm watching it. It's on one of my watch lists.
How would you establish a target if you were to get in?
I don't do targets.
You don't do targets.
Nope, I don't do targets. I'll follow the trend. If it gets real extended, I may take a piece off, and I don't mind having a smaller position at that point. But I don't.
Okay.
I won't say, "Hey, I'm selling at $18 or whatever." I could do a measured move potentially. 10 to we'll call it 15. That's $5. So I would expect this to go maybe to like 19. That would be a measured move, and I could look at that for an area of potential target.
Right.
But I want to follow the trend, right? Because I never know what the next true market leader is going to be. We don't only know that after the fact. All the model books out there, they weren't, they're all done after the fact. So I want to try to capture as much of the trend as I can. And again, I will trade in and out a little bit, half position, take off or, put one on or whatever. But I won't say I'm selling at a particular spot.
All right. Works for me, man. Next one is snow.
All right. Snowflake.
Big spot.
Yeah, big spot. Let's go back. I get the name and I mean, it's in a downtrend still. And even though it's starting to turn, and maybe it does turn, I mean, there's a lot of overhead supply up here, man. There's a lot of shares traded up here. That's going to be a hard one for me to, and you have a bearish engulfing too today. But that's a hard name for me to get behind. And maybe on earnings, maybe it pops up 50%. Who knows? But I just know what, all the dead bodies back here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to go through all of these for this to really. And so I think there's easier names out there.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way I look at it. There's just easier names. Yep. I do like that you're starting to see on the volume side. It's starting to look better, right? It's starting to look better. But with that being said, it's not like overwhelming great,
Right.
And again, I think there's easier names. This is just way too much overhead supply. Again, if you're in it and you're catching this uptrend, awesome. Trail your stops and go and enjoy the ride, but not for me. Again, if I was going to trade against the level, this would be the level right there.
Right.
So there you got the breakout. But again, you got this bearish engulfing right there, looks like. So if this is a false breakout right there and we fall below, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Right
on. All right. Let's keep moving then. Bill, BILL.
I haven't looked at this one in a long time. All right. For good reason.
Same exact spot, isn't it?
Yeah. Same exact spot, right? You can actually draw almost the same exact, something like this, right? Yep. Bearish engulfing today, earnings coming up. Yeah, I mean, that's one that if I would sell this one before earnings, I wouldn't hold through the earnings for this one. I mean, there's just too much going on here and not enough positivity in this name. Tons of overhead supply in this. I don't know what their story is, to be honest. It doesn't really matter to me at this point. This would be a problem.
Yeah. Got it. All right.
Yeah.
We keep on looking for better names. The next one is Qualcomm, QCOM.
Okay. This one's better. I kind of, not bad.
Constructive.
Yes, constructive. Again, you have the same problem, overhead supply, which you're going to find a lot, but you have a flag type pattern that we can identify something like this, again, this doesn't be perfect. So there's your flag. So you can play this. And again, you get your moving averages kind of bunched up where you can manage risk against. So I would play this on a closing. Now you see how it tried to break out and came back in today. So I think it needs to kind of prove itself a little bit. So I would buy more towards the end of the day where the breakout is kind of proven versus, the pop and drop
Right.
type of thing. But yeah, no, it looks great. I like this pattern. Again, it may need a little bit more time. Who knows? But again, on that break of this trend line, and I would just use the moving averages as a good stop.
Got it. Cool. All right. I'm going to start speeding up a little bit here just so we can get as many names as possible.
Yeah.
The next one is ENPH, ENPH. This one's been a monster.
Has been a monster. Yeah. Oops. That was old buy of mine. Take that out. Yeah. So trend line. Look at this. Love that it made new all-time highs, right?
Yep.
I mean, right off the bat, and it gapped up to get there. Awesome, right? That tells you about, the sentiment in my opinion. Beautiful cup like, even VCP-ish type pattern here, not perfect, but close. And it broke out, and it's not giving anything back, which is really, really nice to see. So for this one, I would love to see it retest 270-ish, right? 270 to 275, somewhere in here. That would be a place I can manage risk against. There's my 23, which would be right there. If it closes below this 23 in this green box, I'm out. It's actually a great risk reward if it could come back a little bit more, right? 292 to this, again, 270. So we're talking about, an 8% or so move back in after this gigantic. Awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just listening.
Yeah, I like it for a pullback.
One thought that I have that I haven't asked you yet, how do you usually play? Do you usually buy common, or are you options, or how do you?
I stink at options, man. I stink at options. Commons. I buy common.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's good, man. It's good. Honestly, it's good to know what you're not good at, right? Like it's one less thing you have to worry about. I don't do that. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm with you on that name for sure. UUUU is the next one.
Uranium or something?
Yeah, energy. I think it's uranium.
Yeah, I mean,
ooh, that's tricky.
Yeah, it's sloppy, but I mean, so if I was gonna play this, see, this is deep right here. I don't love this.
Yeah,
I just, that's doesn't look nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's failing a new high too, huh?
Yeah.
Lower lows and lower highs.
Yeah. I mean, moving averages are starting to get there. I mean, I'd have to play if I was going to play it, it'd be on the breakout, and I would put my stop like, right below it as close as I can, right tight there. Yeah. I would not play it before breakout though. It has to prove itself.
And they've got earnings here in what looks like a week and a half or something like that.
23rd or so. Yeah.
It can always be so tricky, the lead up into earnings. Sometimes that earnings move can happen on the way to earnings, and then by the time earnings happens, the move's already priced in and it sells off.
Yeah.
You gotta be so careful.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, keep it on. HUT, H-U-T, I believe is a Bitcoin miner.
Yeah, I haven't looked at this one in a long time either. Well, cryptos have been doing better recently, right?
They have been. Yeah. I mean, Ethereum really was leading. Crypto kind of led tech out of the lows. Crypto kind of bottomed first and kind of started moving first.
Yeah, I look at crypto as being the riskiest of all risk assets. So if people are plowing into crypto, it's a positive for the market. That's the way I view it. I dollar cost average into it. I don't trade it, but I do own a little bit. And Ethereum, the merge is going to happen next month, they say, and people are getting excited for it.
Yep. Do you think it's a sell the news event though? My gut tells me they're going to sell the thing hard on that news.
They could, for sure they could, but listen, BlackRock is doing a spot ETF, Bitcoin ETF now. I mean, there's so much money pouring into that space. My time frame for crypto is 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's such a small percentage of what I'm investing in that it could go to zero and it doesn't change my life. but it
Right.
could go to 100 or 1000x, and it would change my life. And
Right.
that's why I'm playing it. It's a barbell strategy, very
Yeah.
small, but that's how it is. If it goes to zero, it was nice try,
Would you do you this may be a dumb question, but would clearly you would prefer to own the crypto versus the company that's mining the crypto? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'd rather own the asset
Yeah. Right.
directly. Yeah, and I own a
Yeah.
basket, by the way. I own Bitcoin, Ethereum, Avalanche, Polygon. I have a whole basket of them that I
Yeah.
dollar cost average into small
Yeah.
amounts, because you never know which one is going to be
Yeah.
the next one. Solana, I'm saying Solana, Matic, Ethereum. I love all three of them. I think Avalanche, they're great.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. So what are we
hi.
thinking about this? Kind of toppy
Yeah,
looking here a little bit.
yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's just extended. I don't like this candle today, but I like that it's trying to make a bottom, right? And so
Right.
maybe it is trying to make this bottom. And the question is, where do you put the point? And I would probably say right around there. That's a nice little cup. I think that's going to get sold over the next few days. Had earnings, it looks like today. Um, and let's see what happens. It comes into this area. Now, does it hold in this green zone and let the moving averages kind of catch up and volume start to decrease? Or does it completely fail? Or who knows? But I wouldn't buy it here. Again, if you're
Yeah.
in it from here, great. Trail your stop and go. Take some profits maybe, because it looks like it wants to pull back a little bit. And then maybe rebuy if it gets back into this $2.50. I usually don't buy stocks under $10 or so. I've bought this in the past. No, my marks aren't on here, but I bought this one in the past when it was up in, like this cup and handle look right over here. But I wouldn't buy a $2.50 or $3 stock.
Yeah. Not unreasonable. I get that. All right.
Mhm.
Cool. Next round is SQ.
Square. Yeah. Man, what feels so bad for these people, man. Look at this.
It's brutal.
Yeah, where are we at here? 78, 80% basically. 80% loss. Yeah. Okay. I was trying to buy it
Wild.
back over here and got stopped out, obviously.
Yeah. Wild. Holy moly.
Yeah, crazy, right? So again, this is why you can't fall in love with names, right? Because it could do this. It breaks your heart.
Right.
It breaks
And
your
bank
heart.
account.
And your bank account, right? Puts you out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so had earnings and it looks like it went well. But it still has this area. And so what would I see? I like to see it kind of build out maybe a little bit more here, get these moving averages maybe a little bit more caught up, pull down the 200-day a little bit more, and then work on the breakout. It's not doing anything wrong yet, but it hasn't broken out. So that's, so you play it off the breakout or again, into a moving average and use them for your stop if you're looking for an early entry.
Got it. Cool. What are we at? We're at 5 minutes left. This is the 5-minute warning, you guys. If you want that 40% discount, you got 5 minutes to take advantage of it. So just a quick reminder, just letting you know. Amazon is next.
Okay. Again, another company that we all own. And yep, I was watching this little pattern play out of the lower high here and the higher lows. And then, come into earnings and you got that big gap up, right? And then it was great and it's held up awesome. And congratulations to America, because we all own this one again in our retirement accounts.
Right.
And not doing anything wrong, just not the, I just can't manage risk here, right? So that's what I'm looking at right there, right? Support, let it come back, maybe touch the support area again. We'll call it 134 to 135. Have this 23-day right near this green zone. I could get on board this name if that happens. But again, it's got to give you a place to be able to manage risk again. So that's my scenario.
Yeah, that's the spot.
Come back.
And that pullback 2 days ago is enough for you?
This one right here?
Uh-huh.
Well, what would keep me out is the 23 is too far away.
Okay.
That would keep me out. I want to see it closer.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I need some more time.
Cool. Right on. All right, next round, Disney. I figured this would come up.
Yeah. Didn't they have earnings today or yesterday?
They had earnings yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, big gap. It held a lot of it, but it did sell off. It
Mhm.
didn't close the highs, obviously. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a hard one because it, I mean, there's a lot of overhead supply, and now it's gone straight up. And so there's no symmetry to this name.
Yeah.
And again, it's hard to, you can't really quantify that, or anything like that, but there's no symmetry to this name. And I don't like when there's not symmetry. So now what does it need to do? It needs to flag out here. It needs to hold the gap. It needs to just chill out and have a bunch of inside days and sideways movement on
Mhm.
reasonably low volume. Let these moving averages kind of catch up to it, to this 117-ish area. And then we could look at this. So it was a nice gap up.
Yep.
So we could watch it. We keep a gappers. I keep a gappers list. I could add this one to the gappers list. Again, it is crushed from the high, so there's a lot of overhead supply here. I'm really looking for names that are near or at new all-time highs. Right, those are the ones I'm really looking at, or have a significant change in character. This one maybe, but again, it just has to prove itself now.
Yeah, it's got a lot of work to do. SIGA, SIGA.
I don't know if I've ever looked at this one.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
At or near all-time highs. You ask and you shall receive.
Boom. Right. And it's very strong
What a
looking
monster.
chart. But where do you manage risk?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to be involved in this name, you have two choices here, right? You wait for the pullback, which eventually pullbacks always happen, right? Things don't go straight up, right? Yeah, 9% today. I mean, I can't manage risk on this thing. Yeah, so I would wait for the pullback. You got like this weird little trend line right here too that I don't like. I think a pullback's gonna come soon, and then you have like kind of like this, and so I'd be careful with this name. If it starts to break down, it could break down hard. This kind of rising wedge type of look to it. So yeah, I'd be careful with this one.
I'm just sitting here looking at the monthly, and looks like it started the year around $8. So it's a 3xer in
beautiful. I hope whoever asked for this ticker was in this one the whole way, man. That'd be awesome.
Me too. That would be awesome. I think we're gonna do one more name.
Cool.
If that's cool for you. UHS. We're gonna end on a health services name.
Universal Health Services. Oof. That's
not the sound you want to hear.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man. Off the lows, it was nice, and it is kind of consolidating here. Is it one I'm jumping for joy to be in? No, I'm not. This is not what I want to be in. Again, how would I play it if I was in it? If I did get to buy it somehow down here or whatever, I would play against this 23-day, which kind of lines up with this general area right here, right? If it breaks back below this general area, I would be out of this name real quick. I wouldn't even, to be honest, wouldn't want to be in this name. I would sell it and get into something better.
Yeah, just to not a clean enough look for you.
Yeah, it's not clean. I mean, gap downs. I mean, when you see these types of gap downs, it tells you that there are significant sellers. And even on this nice big move up here, volume wasn't crazy awesome. Like that was a good volume day. That's a good volume day, whatever, but you want to see this on the green side, not on the red side. So yeah, it doesn't look like institutions are piling in on this name.
Yeah, right. Right on, Jack. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to be with us. I know I really appreciate it. Everybody here at TrendSpider appreciates it, and I'm sure all the viewers do too. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, so at AlphaCharts365 on Twitter. I also do weekly videos on YouTube on the weekend, same name at AlphaCharts365. I link them all through the Twitter, so that's probably the best place. All my content is there. Yeah, so find me there and let's talk.
Awesome, man. Well, if you enjoyed the show, please give our friend Jack a follow. And we'll be doing this again next week. So next week, we got a lot on the plate. On Tuesday, we're going to be on Twitter as we always are. Twitter Spaces, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be hanging out with Braxy, Pat Trades, and OG Trades. They're going to be giving us their trades of the week. On Thursday, we're going to be back here on YouTube for another live charting show with Mom Ange. So she's going to be taking your chart requests and giving you her thoughts on them. So that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, Jack. Thank you again for being with us. And we look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Have a great rest of your evening and happy trading out there. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Jack.